I didn't plan on attending my wife's office party that night. Honestly, I never liked those gatherings. Fake smiles, meaningless chatter, and people pretending to care about each other's weekend plans. But Emma insisted. She said it was important for her image, that her boss would be there, and it would mean a lot if I came. I agreed. I didn't know I'd be walking into the performance of my life. The ballroom at the downtown Marriott shimmered with gold lights and too much perfume. Music thumped softly in the background, and the scent of champagne mixed with overcooked salmon. Emma looked radiant, like she always did, her emerald dress hugging her perfectly, hair cascading down in waves that had once made me lose my breath. She spotted me from across the room and smiled, a tight, practiced smile. Not the one she used to give me when we'd lie awake at 2 a.m., whispering plans for our future. "James, you made it," she said as she kissed my cheek. Her lipstick left a faint trace, blood red, just like the color my heart would soon spill. I wrapped an arm around her waist, but she subtly moved away, almost imperceptibly. That's when I noticed him, Daniel Ross, her boss. I recognized the name from her stories. "Brilliant leader," she'd said. "Charming, a bit arrogant, but he gets results." He sauntered toward us with a drink in his hand and a grin that could slice glass. "Well, if it isn't the mysterious husband," he said, voice dripping with mock warmth. "Emma, you didn't tell us he'd actually show up." The table laughed. Something about his tone made my jaw tighten. "Pleasure to meet you," I said, extending my hand. He ignored it, turning instead to Emma. "You didn't tell me your husband was. What do you do again?" "Real estate," I said evenly. He chuckled. "Ah, property. Makes sense." He took a sip of his drink. A solid, predictable job for a solid, predictable man. Laughter again. Emma looked uncomfortable but didn't stop him. I stared at him, at the expensive watch, the smug grin, the hand that lingered too long on my wife's back. My blood simmered. He didn't know who I was. He didn't know that the company he managed, the one Emma worked for, was part of a portfolio I had quietly acquired 6 months ago. I'd been testing a theory about loyalty and leadership. Tonight, I would get my answer. The night stretched. I watched, silent, as Daniel bragged, drank, and flirted openly with Emma. He whispered in her ear once, and she didn't pull away. My heart thudded painfully. At one point, he slid his hand across the small of her back while laughing at a joke. My wife smiled nervously, then quickly looked at me, as if to check whether I'd noticed. I had. I noticed everything. Later, when she went to the restroom, Daniel approached me. "You know, James," he said, slurring slightly, "Emma's one of the best we've got. Smart, ambitious, loyal." He smirked at that last word, his gaze flicking toward the direction she'd gone. "Loyal," I repeated quietly, feeling the word curdle on my tongue. He chuckled, stepping closer. "Between you and me, I'm surprised she settled down so young. She's adventurous." Something inside me cracked. But I smiled. The kind of smile that hides blood behind teeth. Emma returned, cheeks flushed. "Hey," she said quickly, "they're calling everyone for a toast." "Go ahead," I told her softly. "I'll catch up." I watched as she walked away, her hand brushing Daniel's as she passed. He grinned again, possessive. When she disappeared into the crowd, I pulled out my phone. "Liam," I said when my assistant answered, "get the company files for Ross Enterprises ready. I want them sent to my personal email immediately. And tomorrow morning, schedule a board meeting." A pause. "Yes, sir. Everything okay?" "No," I said. "But it will be." The toasts began. Champagne glasses clinked. Daniel stood at the front, commanding the room like he owned it. "To my incredible team," he said, voice loud and confident, "and especially to Emma, my right hand, my partner in crime." Everyone laughed. "Couldn't do it without you," he added, looking directly at her. The room blurred around me. My ears buzzed. That phrase, partner in crime, echoed in my skull, mingling with months of late nights, unexplained absences, and evasive smiles. When the applause died down, I stepped forward. "Mind if I say a few words?" The room quieted. Emma's eyes widened. Daniel smirked. Of course, James. Be my guest. I took the microphone. Thank you, I began, voice calm. I just want to say how honored I am to be here tonight. To see such loyalty, hard work, and dedication. I looked straight at Daniel. Qualities that make a company thrive. He raised an eyebrow, amused. Speaking of which, I continued, I'd like to formally introduce myself. My name is James Calder. The murmurs began. And, as of 6 months ago, I became the majority owner of Ross Enterprises. Gasps rippled through the room. Daniel froze. His drink trembled slightly in his hand. Emma's face went pale. I smiled thinly. I've been quietly observing how this company runs. And tonight, I've seen quite a show. Daniel's voice cracked. You can't be serious. Oh, I'm very serious, I said softly. Starting Monday, there'll be some restructuring. Effective immediately, you're on leave pending review. The room fell silent. Emma's lip trembled. James, please. I turned to her. You knew. Her silence was answer enough. The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. Not just her affair, but the realization that she'd defended him, admired him, perhaps even loved him. The woman who used to trace constellations on my skin at midnight had been building a secret universe with someone else. I set the microphone down and walked out. Outside, the cold air burned my lungs. I stood under the pale glow of the streetlights, the sound of the city distant, unreal. Emma followed me moments later, heels clattering on the pavement. James, please, it wasn't what it looked like. I turned slowly. Then tell me what it was. Her lips parted, but no words came. Just tears. I nodded, more to myself than to her. You had everything, Emma. My trust. My love. My protection. I looked toward the glittering hotel windows. Now you have the truth. She reached for me, but I stepped back. I'm not your safety net anymore, I said quietly. And he's not your future. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Just the sound of her sobs and the wind scraping through the city. Finally, I turned and walked toward my car. When I looked back, she was still standing there, framed by light and loss, small, broken, and beautiful in a way that only regret can make someone look. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like the predictable man in the room. I felt free.